Good Tuesday evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. I feel like not a whole lot has changed weather-wise from when we did the show yesterday. I mean, it is a little colder. Yesterday, a lot of us saw temperatures in the 40s. Today, I think we're back into the 30s, but it is still above freezing. So, of course, a little more melting and no snow right now. But, Joe, you mentioned in our early newscast that things are going to continue to get colder and snow is on the way?
Yeah, there's a little on the way. By this time tomorrow, maybe an inch or so in some spots.
Okay.
Maybe a little more in a few areas. We're going to show you that. But yeah, Maya, that's the point. We have some snow coming in, and then another round. It looks like Thursday night into early Friday, and I think that one will be a little bit more. So I think by the time we get into the weekend, of course, it's the weekend before Christmas. Mm-hmm. Some snow on the ground. And then we're going to warm right back up again.
Of course.
And we talked, I think, about that yesterday. We're kind of in this up and down pattern. But we'll talk about all that coming up a little later.
All right. Thanks, Joe. And let's start off by talking about a story that has kind of caused a lot of mixed reaction from lawmakers in our state and also from restaurant workers. So progress on a bill that advocates say would save tips for Michigan servers has stalled after a refusal to consider it by the House Speaker led to Republicans just walking out of the session last week. So the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance says if nothing changes, there could be consequences for our region. And our very own Daniel Zivian talked with the Alliance and a state legislator to learn more about this bill.
A July Michigan Supreme Court ruling confirmed that minimum wage would rise to $15 an hour over the next few years, signaling the end of tips for restaurant workers. State House Republicans are pushing back against Democratic House Speaker Joe Tate, saying Tate refused to hear a bill that would reverse the court's decision. That backlash has also reached Northern Michigan.
We're hearing overwhelmingly from our hospitality industry, including the restaurant owners, the workers themselves, that they don't want this change. They never asked for this change, and they make far beyond the $15 minimum wage. Especially seasonally, people can work in summer, peak shifts, and make significant amounts of money. So if folks wanted to make minimum wage, they likely wouldn't be in this industry.
Bennett says the logic goes like this. Higher wages would be an expense for restaurants, which could bring up menu prices, meaning customers would be less likely to tip than before.
It could mean staff are preparing to look at other industries to make more money. Maybe they lose the employees they have that have been working there for a long time. There will be immediate impact. If you enjoy dining out, I encourage you to talk to your server and ask their opinion and what they think.
Bennett says the chamber is also supporting a companion bill that would ease cumbersome procedures for handling paid time off. Representative Cam Cavett says the bills will have to be passed under the incoming Republican majority.
Look, I serve in the minority. The majority party does not need our assistance to pass bills. They have enough in there. They don't need any Republicans to pass this. So there was no sense for keeping us there 14 hours again on Friday. There hadn't been a Friday session in 20 years, I'm told.
Daniel Zivian, UpNorthLive News.
And Bennett says if nothing does change, the Supreme Court ruling goes into effect in February of next year. Now, Christmas Eve is exactly a week from today, so we have a couple of Christmas stories to share with you. Now, the first one you might not think is super related to Christmas, but just hear me out. So the 125th annual Audubon Christmas bird count in Leelanau County is underway. Let's take a look at some video here. Volunteers participate by counting every bird that they see or hear within a designated area over the span of 24 hours. And officials say the count takes place in a 15-mile radius, and that is consistent every year. So groups of about 15 to 20 people will go to that area and just count birds all day long. Officials say that the bird count helps researchers understand different trends with different bird species in the environment. And for much more on this story, let's turn things over to our guest, Kirk Waterstripe with the Grand Traverse Audubon Club. Kirk, thanks so much for joining us on Unscripted tonight.
Happy to be here.
So what I think is really interesting about this story is that this is the 125th year that this bird count has been happening. Obviously, you weren't around when it first started, but do you know the history of why it got started and how things have changed over the years?
Well, in the late 1890s and probably before, there was a tradition of a Christmas Day side hunt, they called it, where a bunch of people would get together and go out and shoot basically everything they saw.
Oh.
And in 1899, ornithologist and naturalist said, "Hey, why don't we count things instead of shooting them?" So he published a little article in his journal, and 1900 was the first Christmas bird count with 7 people in, I think, 5 different circles in parts of the country that read his journal, and it has grown to. I'm actually not sure of the number of circles, but over 70,000 people do this over a couple weeks in late December.
And why this time of year? Why like in December, right by Christmas time?
It provides a really nice look at wintering bird populations. There are some that move down here from the Arctic, snowy owls, for example, and different finches. And they're pretty well in their wintering range by this time of year. So we get a nice snapshot. And by counting in the same circle year after year, we can look at trends and rule out a lot of the extra variables.
So how long have you been a part of this bird count?
Oh, I think this is my second year as compiler of the Leelanau count. I was doing it for several years before that, and kind of, a few years in between sometimes. I've been kind of in and out. And some people do 2 or 3 or 4 different counts in a year, and I think my record's only 3.
That's still pretty impressive. So we kind of mentioned that this bird count can help with researchers better understand different bird species. What are some other benefits and impacts of doing this every year?
It gets people out there. It's kind of like a next step. Beginning birders can get involved and learn the craft a little bit, learn to identify things, and then they go out with an experienced group or an experienced leader in a particular area. And we have an occasion this year where one of the people who's been leading for, let's say, ever, is stepping down and turning it over to one of the other people in his group. So there's a nice little, passing the torch and people moving up from the lead to the leader sometimes. So it's a nice chance to polish your skills.
And so there are leaders, but really sounds like anyone can take part in this if they're interested.
Yeah. That's why there's a compiler. There's one person who can pair up the people with less experience with somebody who's been doing this, because the reliability of the data, it comes down to how much effort we put in, and we have to standardize the numbers. So 360 Canada geese, if you looked all day for them, carries different weight than 360 Canada geese if you saw them in the first hour.
Right. So can you kind of walk us through what that day looks like when you are going out there for the bird count?
Well, in the Lake Leelanau count, in mine, I've been communicating with participants for over a month now and sorting out who wants to come along and who wants to do which area, because sometimes they do like to switch up. And we have territories assigned. We took this 15-mile diameter circle and chopped it up into 8 territories, and those have all been assigned, and I have crews assigned to the leaders and distributed the forms they need to use, and some helpful hints and things like that. So everybody's just going to take off on their own. Each group will have a meeting spot all worked out amongst themselves, and they'll go out. Well, some people might go out before sunrise and maybe try to call some owls. And some people might take off when it actually gets light. And then they'll cover their area. Sometimes it might take all day and they're coming in as the sun is almost setting. Some areas might be a little smaller. One thing that really helps is if we get access to land. So if we don't have a lot of access, that day might wrap up by mid-afternoon or so.
Hmm. So in all the different bird counts that you have participated in, has there been a certain either maybe type of bird or something that you discovered that was a little out of the ordinary?
Last year was, let's just say last year was out of the ordinary. With El Nino, we had a record number of species. We had things like gray catbird that lives here in the summer and I guess decided not to leave. We've had blackbirds that are usually gone by October. They all kind of blur together after a little while.
Sure. But no, that makes sense with the weird weather pattern that we did have last year, that you're probably going to see some birds that you typically wouldn't see this time of year.
Right, right.
And if people do want to get involved with a bird count, whether that's in Leelanau County or elsewhere, what can they do?
Well, the National Audubon Society has a site. If you just go to, I think it's audubon.org and search for Christmas bird count information, it'll take you to an array of sites. And in there, there's a map of all the count circles. If you do this in like February, the information won't be up to date for next year. So you might want to just make a little note on the calendar and start this process in October. But you can find a circle where you're going to be with a compiler's name and contact information. Get in touch and see if they need some help, see if they can work you in somewhere. I start doing that, like I said, in October, early November with Lake Leelanau, and same thing with the Traverse City count. There are actually 4 in the area. There's one in Antrim County, Traverse City, Leelanau, and Benzie, and then Manistee if you want to go a little farther. So there's several counts in the area that you could get in touch with and see if they need some help.
Good to know. Is there anything else, Kirk, that you want to mention about the annual Christmas bird count that we haven't talked about yet?
One thing that's really helpful, I might make a pitch for access to large tracts of land for next year. I'd love to get to know more people out there and ask them if 2 or 3 people can stomp around their property for a few hours one day a year. But the one thing that might alarm people is carfuls of people with binoculars seemingly looking at their house. We're not. We're looking at your bird feeders or the neighbor's bird feeders. We have no interest in what's going on in the house.
Right.
So please don't bother the Leelanau County Sheriff's Department. Just kind of wave, we'll wave back,
Sure. Well, thanks, Kirk, for clarifying that. So yeah, folks, keep in mind that if you do see folks out there with some binoculars, remember, they're looking at your bird feeders and the birds, not inside of your house. Kirk, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And let's turn things over to our question of the day related to birds. And that is, do you have a bird feeder on your property? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you to our website where you can vote. As of right now, we have 490 votes, and 84% of people say yes. Only 16% say no. So we will continue to keep an eye on those live results as the show continues. But we are going to take a quick commercial break now, and we will check back in with Joe Charlevoix in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we are exactly a week away from Christmas Eve. And Joe, I'm sure a lot of folks are wondering if we are going to have a white Christmas this year. What are your thoughts on that?
We are going to get more snow, especially later this week. It looks like Thursday night into Friday, especially. But there is a warm up next week, too. So, it'll be iffy. I think we should get one, but we'll find out.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, if we didn't have that warm up next week, it probably would. But yeah. Let's take a look in Petoskey right now. Here's a look in Emmett County, our Holiday Inn Express and Suites camera. No issues. That's US 131. Traffic moving along fine. Actually, it's still pretty mild. It's 35. Again, this time of the year could be below zero. So a mild one out there, just cloudy for the time being. Temperatures are, again, above normal for this time of the year. Here are the current numbers here as of, about 10 minutes here before 7. We're looking at Beaver Island, 34. Cool spot, Newberry, 31. Gaylord, near freezing. Traverse City currently sitting at 37 at Cherry Capital Airport. There is some snow off to our west. You can see this in Iowa tonight and parts of Minnesota, inching into areas of southern Wisconsin. Back home, there's a little bit of snow up in the UP coming in off Lake Superior, around Whitefish Point, even in the Sioux area, Brimley Bay Mills. You've had a couple of these lighter snow showers. I do want to point out that Luce County, right there, outlined in purple, is under a winter weather advisory. That's through tomorrow until late tomorrow night. That includes Newberry, Tequamanon Falls, McMillan, Deer Park, for the potential for some accumulating snow there, mainly a little bit of lake effect snow. Here's what's going to happen tonight. Not a lot, a few snow showers. Tomorrow, see the snow showers tomorrow? So we are going to see snow. It won't be that heavy, though. Maybe an inch or two in some spots. And then the next system, the bigger one, the main one between now and Christmas, will roll in right there. That's Thursday afternoon. You can see some of that snow through around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then snow likely Thursday night. And then this low will drop away from the area on Friday. So even Friday morning, it could be a little messy Friday morning heading into work and school. And then that low will drop away. So long range snow forecast, let me pull it up here. In the short term, through tomorrow, an inch or two, maybe. Not a lot of snow tomorrow, but there'll be a little bit around. And then here comes that next system. And that's where we could see, maybe 3 to 5 inches of snow total between the snow tomorrow and then what comes in later Thursday night through the day on Friday. Show you the jet stream real quick too. So you see where it says Traverse City, northern Michigan right there? That little bit of cold air comes in right there. That's Friday into the weekend. And then watch as we head toward Christmas, the cold air retreats and we get ridging in here. And it looks like it could be a fairly mild Christmas with highs probably in the 40s. So your extended forecast looks like that. We do cool down Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 20s, maybe even some teens on Saturday. That chance for some snow. And then we start warming back up. And by next Tuesday, that is, as Maya mentioned earlier, Christmas Eve, a week from now, some spots could be back around 40 degrees again. But we do have a little snow, especially Maya, Thursday night, Friday morning.
All right, at least we're going to get a little bit of snow before Christmas time. Thanks, Joe. We're going to take another quick commercial break, but we'll check in with our sports director, Harrison Beebe, right after this quick commercial. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Let's not waste any time. Let's bring in our sports director, Harrison Beebe, and see what he is working on tonight in sports. Hey, Harrison.
Hey, Maya, yeah, I'm in the gym. Hopefully it's not too loud like it was during those volleyball hits we had last month. Big game here, Traverse City Central taking on Muskegon Reese Buffer boys basketball. I've heard pretty good things about TC Central this year. I actually heard a lot of good things about all the Traverse City programs for boys basketball. And tonight I'm hitting the final two. I've seen TC West and TC Christian play. And tonight I'm going to see TC Central and Traverse City St. Francis play. I think I might have said that out of order. I don't know if the motion might be loud enough. Either way, by the end of the night, I'll have all 4 teams covered. And yeah, excited to see how they do this season. But all night somewhere. And that tonight would be at the TC Central Gym. So a couple good boys basketball games for a Tuesday night. And I'm trying to get some good lighting in the hallways at Traverse City. So this is my alma mater, so I should know where all the good lighting is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that covers the highlights for tonight.
Can we do a quick little experiment? Can you take that little mic on your headphones and put it closer to your mouth and see if that makes your audio any louder?
Does it? Kind of makes it look like I'm trying to eat my microphone.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've just seen other people do that, so I thought maybe you could try it, but it doesn't really sound much different. Anyway, so a lot of high school basketball games tonight. What else is going on in the sports world?
We've got a couple interesting college basketball games. Michigan State's taking on Oakland at Little Caesars Arena. Oakland is 0-22 against the Spartans. But I don't know if anybody recalls a couple of years ago when Coach Campy, each wore those holiday Christmas sweaters. That was the best part of the game for me 2 years ago. Hopefully they bust those out again. And then Michigan's women's basketball team actually has a big game tonight against a ranked Oklahoma team. Michigan plays Oklahoma back-to-back nights in men's and women's basketball. I don't know if that was planned or not. Both matchups are first-ranked opponents. So that should be an intriguing thing. We still, we've had a couple Big Ten games, and now we're doing a few more non-conference games. And then in the new year, Big Ten play will kick back up for both conferences.
All right, Harrison. Well, thanks so much for joining us on Unscripted. Get back to that basketball game. We look forward to seeing all of your highlights tonight at 11, but we are going to take one more break. Coming up, we'll check in with the live results for our question of the day. Stick around.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Earlier in this show, we shared with you that there are several Christmas bird counts happening around northern Michigan. So our question of the day is, do you have a bird feeder on your property? 84% say yes. I am one of the 16% who say no. I live on the top floor of my apartment complex. I'm afraid if I got a bird feeder, all the seeds would just kind of spill onto the people who live below me. And I think that could just be a little messy, but I do wish I had a bird feeder. So maybe I'll think about it. All right, that'll do it for UpNorthLive Unscripted tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock. Take care, everyone.